Hello everyone, and thanks to our close friend from Startup Inside for hosting us today. Welcome to this discussion we're having to share with you a few learnings we had over the last year, working together at shipping value within the company Financière Richemont. So as you might know, this holding supports its brands to deliver business value, and we along the way we discovered that our closest friends were from corporate finance within the maison, within the group. So we thought it was good to extend this friendship to the finance community. Maybe we can introduce ourselves. You want to start?
Of course. Thanks, Cyril. So my name is Charlotte Werger. I actually come from a finance background, so I'm very excited to be amongst peers again today. I currently work at Richemont. Richemont is not very well known, but its main competitor is LVMH, which I'm sure you all know. But Richemont essentially is a group financière who owns a lot of our major luxury brands. So think of Cartier, think of Panerai, think of Montblanc, CoE, IWC, Vacheron Constantin. So all these amazing brands are actually managed by Group Richemont. At Richemont, I work within our group data office as our head of AI and analytics. And I had the pleasure of working with Artefact over the last almost year and a half now. It's been about a year at least.
Yeah, a bit more. Yeah, exactly. And as for myself, Cyril Fekete, I'm the partner in charge of the luxury practice. So what we do at Artefact is mostly supporting the transformations of major groups within the CAC 40 on their the transformation journey. We support them with specific use case and data and AI solution shipping, and on their enablers also implementing data platforms and a new organizational way of working. So that's a bit of actually what we've done with Richemont, and the Richemont case is pretty interesting to me because, to be frank, you started pretty late. Huh? You started like the group data office started 1.5 years ago, so that's way later than most retailers and then major other luxury players. The thing is, you went much faster. To be frank, first season that was 6 months, you shipped 2 major AI solution in production and delivered dozens of millions of euros in value. Second season was about 6 solutions, so it's pretty impressive the pace that you're taking. So it would be good to have your key learnings on how you built it and how you secured the scale of it.
I think for us, the main point in creating this value is actually going after big ticket items. So really looking at what are the value levers on a balance sheet and figuring out what are the main pain points in basically the P&L of a business, and say, okay, let's try and set up solutions that really tackle those main pain points. So for the luxury industry, you would probably look at supply chain, you would probably look at media spend, customer engagements, distribution across networks as really some of the main value levers, which would allow us also to really talk business to our C-suite. So talk things that they care about, allowed us to go ahead. And then second thing that was really important is to work hand in hand with our maisons. If our end users are not engaged and not aware of the solution, you don't get the adoption that you need. So they were part of our core delivery teams, which were, by the way, agile teams, and they would get on a bi-weekly basis an update on what are the model improvements, what's the interface improvement, and they'd be looking at fresh production data on a weekly basis, so they were really involved in the creation and the delivery of that project. And then lastly, it was really about getting the stamp of approval from C-suite level. So we went up to CEOs to say, is this your main priority? Is this a major pain point that you want us to work on? If so, can you make sure that we get all the allocated time we need from your team to make this happen? So really C-suite level buy-in again, to get everyone on board And without that, we just wouldn't do the project.
Yeah, pretty impressive, the commitment of CEOs and COOs that you managed to get on, and that was super critical in having the commitment of the delivery team and the commitment of the business and users that had their N+4 to 5 in the room challenging their work. So.
Yeah. And then I think another point on the scaling of our success, because Richemont is a complex organization. We own 26 maisons, and so building a solution for just one doesn't guarantee success across the board. And you can't really build the same solution 26 times and take the same resources to do so. So we had to think about scalability. And the way you do that within data science, and I'm sure you guys are also familiar with this, is to really treat it as a software problem. So really think beyond data science project as a one-off, but think of how can we build something that we can scale and use across a diversity of stakeholders and a diversity of slightly different setups. So really our approach was to build everything as code. Our infrastructure was as code. Our pipelines were as code. Our models and even the parameterization and optimization of our models is an automated pipeline. And so the importance of ML engineering and doing everything at top quality was the main driver of scalability in our case. Because without that, we wouldn't be able to replicate. And Cyril, I think you have some examples on how that led to the reduction of development time, right?
Yeah, if we compare to the first shipping, the first solution we worked on was on demand forecast. Like we did it for retailers and for major CPGs. It took us between 9 to 12 months to ship the solution in production. Here, the first time we did it for one of your maisons, it took us 4.5 months, and the second time we did it was 2 months. So from early discovery to actual use in production by end users. So what we want to emphasize here, and that was the same case for the other solutions, is that the core of the solution was meant to be scalable from the very beginning. So that's you'll see later how we managed to have a ML engineer join the team from the very beginning, so that the product that was shipped was in prod from the first months on. But that was really critical.
And then I think a last point of our scalability comes down to communication. And again, because we're working with so many different stakeholders, different maisons, it's really spreading the word about what you're doing and getting other people on board and willing to work with you on what you're doing. And so we would showcase some of our successes and tell, a whole wide of audience, what kind of solution have we been building, what kind of impact are we making, to really get other people interested and also wanting to be part of this. Last point, I think, is really also, I would say, sparking a flame in a maison that then sets a fire. And so by us going in and doing a project, what we started noticing is that maisons started becoming interested in wanting to do it themselves, wanting to set up analytics teams, dedicating more resources to more projects of this kind. So really creating a movement almost in this transformation is really important, because you can't transform a business that is at this scale if you don't get people that really be part of it.
So maybe to give some flesh to this presentation, you guys might not be familiar with the core business of a luxury player. What they do is they are manufacturers and retailers, and in between you have this process of defining what is most appropriate in terms of volumes of product to be manufactured, and how you allocate them so that you optimize the stock. And don't end up with dozens of millions of this stock that are unsold at the end of the year. So this this process, the supply and operation planning, is absolutely critical to this type of industry. And that's the first one we tackled. And here what you see is, to be frank, a pretty simple solution. Here the idea is really to less is more in terms of interface. What the demand forecaster could do easily is identify per product, per region, and per channel of distribution the right volume of product to be manufactured. The challenges there are that you have about around 40% of the products that are brand new, never hit the floor, never seen within boutiques. So this is the first challenge in terms of modelization. And second challenge is it's 9 to 12 months before they even hit the floor in the boutiques. So these are strong challenges from a modelization point of view, and from a user point of view, what their daily challenge is to convince their counterpart from marketing, from product development, on the fact that they are overconfident on the success of the product. So here is the simple solution, displaying the figures per product and the right ventilation, the reasons to believe that it's accurate in terms of forecast is. We split it between channels and ventilated per month of distribution. We, as you can see on the right side, also shared the reasons why this or that product would sell that much. Reasons being the color of the bracelet, the size of the watch, the collection, and so on and so forth. So it's mostly related to product hierarchy, collection, meaning collection and so on, prices, and let's say client that buy this type of client profile that buy this type of product.
All right, so this use case is a very interesting problem, because you will probably only come across this within the luxury industry. So the problem here is Richemont has products that are scarcity products. That means there is more demand than there is supply. We're not necessarily wanting to increase supply because we're always managing our desirability of products. So the question here becomes not how much do you produce or how much should you be, supplying to the market, but which market do you supply your product to? Which clients are you going to make happy? So it's actually a real difficult problem for many of our maisons. And so the solution that we built here is essentially a combination of two pieces. One is an AI model forecasting regional demand and understanding what are people wanting to buy within a certain region. And then two, a constraint optimization problem whereby we weigh the regional demand and the forecasted demand with strategic initiatives and the profit optimization. So now we can shift product to markets where we know we'll be fulfilling demand. We're optimizing against our margins, so we're selling it through the highest profitable stores, and we're also taking into account our strategic priorities. And so what we build here is really that scenario tool that gives the planner a way to say, okay, this could be an optimal allocation for next year, and this is the impact that it's going to have versus the current allocation on our market. And what you typically see is a reduction in waiting times, so that's great for our clients, and also an increase in profits, which is obviously great for the maison. So this one has been a truly unique use case that we really haven't seen elsewhere, and it's really a luxury problem to have, pun intended, but a very exciting one.
Quick overview on how of the machinery to ship these type of use cases. Nothing brand new, to be fair. So this is absolute to my opinion, it's pretty standard on the market. First thing on the operating model is implementing squads, meaning feature teams. That's inspired by the Spotify model. Having a hyper-skilled team made of all the components that you need for shipping a product, a data solution that has value for the business. And here, the two most important elements that tend to be neglected, in my opinion, are first the business owner. And to be frank, the engagement, the commitment we needed from Inga or from people from the second maison that we worked with, it was critical to have their freshest memories on their actual tangible edge cases that happened in terms of forecasting and errors that they were facing and so on. So business owner, from day one, it's a strong commitment you need to get. Second one is the machine learning engineer. Machine learning engineer, it's an in-between software engineers and data scientists. And here, their mandate somehow is to make sure of two things. First thing is, we respect the MLOps approach so that the product is shipped in prod as soon as possible. So consuming production data so that we have the freshest data in hands. And that the pipeline can be updated on a click button basis, right? So that's the first thing. And second thing is offering to the data scientist an ecosystem where he can test as many configuration as possible. So his value is in making sure that we have tested a lot of options. So that's the first thing, the operating model based on feature team. And the second thing was having a strong commitment on gates, so that that's one thing that is common on the market once again, working in agile mode, agile delivery. Here what was important was the commitment of top management at the end of the scoping phase, at the end of each sprint, so that we would radically focus on the business value. We had arbitrations on the categories of products we wanted to use between novelties and carryover. We had strong arbitrations that were requiring their support. Maybe it would be good to have your perspective on what you've done at Nike to compare it with Richemont and how it worked respectively in terms of operating model.
Yeah, so before joining Richemont, I was head of AI for Nike in EMEA. And there we had a similar approach, so really tackling data science as a software problem rather than as a one-off project. So similar to essentially to this setup. I think again the team was very similar, so a mixture of data scientists with a very strong engineering background. So we would really only hire people that almost come from a software engineering background and then became data scientists or a PhD in computer science. And so starting with that kind of profile, it made it easier. And then in terms of a setup very similar, so agile squads, bi-weekly sprints involving the end user in the end solution and validating a lot of the things that we're building, and then try to abstractify away from the technicalities, which was very difficult in the case of Nike. And we did this very successfully also for fulfillment and for supply chain. It's something that works very effectively in those areas, I'd say. I think we have a couple of seconds left, maybe for a question or
for any
two.
question?
Do we? Are there any questions? One question we can take. It's very selective.
Yes, Ça marche ou pas? Non, ça marche. Maybe you answer the question. I'm sorry, I was on the main stage and it was a little late, so I missed the beginning of your presentation. I'm sorry for that. Did you speak about the return on investment about this project? Return on investment.
The return on investment. Yes. Obviously, I can't disclose a lot of numbers, but typically you would be looking at an investment of around, I can't really say, but we would take an investment of a couple of 100K, and then the typical return on investments would be in the double-digit millions. So let me just say, insane return on investment. And so really that crystallization of business value, going after the big tickets, which we explained in the beginning of the presentation, really solving the main pain points within a P&L, ensured us that we could actually go after those, double-digit million impacts versus any, below 500K investment for these teams made our ROI really, really, really high. Thank you.
Thank you very much.